Thanks for being on time and for joining, Dylaan. Hi, good evening, everybody. Good day, everybody. Well, as promised, we wanted to kick off this interaction. I wouldn't like to call it a kind of monologue or a session because it's going to be an interaction. So me and Dylaan just decided to share some thoughts and some lessons and some wisdom and experiences with you, but let's say mostly our stories and the takeaways and the lesson learned, plus of course business intentions and ideas and strategies which we could support you and help you afterwards with. So we are just opening up this very first Facebook Live today, and as we announced last time, it will be Facebook Live every last Sunday of the month for you. We would like to spend 30 to 45 minutes with you, and each time we're going to share a topic with you, actually, of course, based also on your interest and requests and proposals as well. So we are both, let's say, kind of minorities in our own countries and also in other countries. So the universe has helped us find each other and share some mutual ideas and interests with each others, and also, of course, with you guys. Dylaan, please.
Thank you so much, Awin, for having me, and thank you, our friends, to be with us today on Facebook Live. And this gonna be a discussion between you, friends, on Facebook, and us as hosts. The point of having this Facebook today is to share our true life stories and help wonderful people like you who are watching this video live right now, or you're gonna watch it later on, to share with you how we overcame our adversities. It's not only about moving to another country and having adversity. We had adversities in our own country, and we overcame with a lot of adversities. I shared a little bit with you when I arrived in United States with $46 in pocket, and I couldn't speak English. I didn't know anything about the American system. It was a tough time. To me, if we stay in that victimhood story, we're gonna stay there forever. But if we change the story to a heroic story, to be a hero, to come out of that adversity and turn it around and change it to something meaningful, something useful for you and the people around you, then you'll be successful.
For myself, as my own point of view, as a lifetime warrior, runaway girl, and let's say rule breaker, adversity was predestinated for me. So it was, I think, from the very beginning supposed to be a part of my life, because I decided consciously, or also in my very young ages unconsciously, just by my instinct and intuition, to not to go with the flow, not to follow cliches, not to follow rules. So that's why I was also known for that. And that's why adversity was a part of my life, and I faced them all. And the thing is that, as you mentioned, there are different ways of how looking at them, how to handling them. Well, for me, was every story a part of a challenge or a battle? Because maybe it's a bit tough or rush to say life is a battle, but it is strategically like a battle. How we first observe the situation and how we prepare ourselves mentally and physically and emotionally to step into a kind of battle. It can actually end up in a nice negotiation and a solution that it's good for all, and it can end up in a way that somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, or somebody has to learn, actually. Because there were times that I also used to lose a lot and let's say failed, but depending on how you're looking at it, how you come out of it, then you can still see yourself, as you said, as a hero. So that's your choice to come out of each story as a victim or as a victor. So for myself, ultimately, I was seeing always this kind of circumstances or situation as a kind of two solutions. You have like two options. You can get out of it, see it as experience, as feedback, or fail forward, let's say. I mean, fail, but stand up and move forward. Or the second, much more comfortable option is just to lay back and die. Which I don't recommend to anybody. I mean, there are some people that actually think, okay, this is not too much for me. I don't want to live anymore. I just do. But for me, honestly, I just, I mean, we're amongst friends and also people. So this is about also authenticity and being real and true to all our audiences and share stories with them. I never in lifetime ever thought about not living anymore, because the passion and the energy and fire for life was in me and still in me so much and so powerful that I wandered around and searched for every kind of solution just to find a way forward. So just to cut it short, I mean, the way I came here or not, actually they did not belong to, let's say, my adversity time. I had like 2-3 turning points in my life that I actually would like to share just to see how they brought me here. So what I would love you also to share with our friends and also the future audiences and those lovely ones who are already sharing the time with us, please tell them something about your background, because I know you have medicine background in medicine and leadership. So this is a very fantastic combination, actually. Just tell us shortly how it came, what kind of shift happened just in between.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning it. Yes, that's true. Actually, from childhood, I wanted to be a leader, a speaker, a business owner or entrepreneur in today's definition, and a brain surgeon. I was in 3rd grade when I started my first business, which was selling cookies to neighborhood kids. And at that time, I found out it was not easy actually to sell, especially for me. I was very shy. And then when I wanted to talk to someone, I couldn't. Even when we had guests at home, I was hiding in a different room. I was that shy. So imagine that my goal was to selling cookies, and the thing started with wishing for an airplane, a toy, and I didn't have money to buy it, so I started to selling cookies. That's how I started my business. And then after a few weeks, I found out actually I was good at selling. And then I hired other kids to work with me, so we branched out of our neighborhood. In 4th grade, I decided to become a brain doctor. I didn't know at that time about brain surgery. However, there was a story behind that. My aunt died because of the brain disease, which was actually from false pregnancy that was metastasized to her brain. And we had very close connection, and we had a lot of conversation. At that time, I promised my aunt to be a brain doctor, and then later on I found out that was a brain surgery, that was a neurosurgery. And I wrote an essay. I read it to my class, and they made fun of me. They made a lot of jokes about me, and even my teacher told me to reconsider my dreams.
These are the most powerful statements, actually. When those
exactly.
authorities are asking you to reconsider your path or to tell you something like, oh, actually, I think you're not good for this, or do something different.
That day, when I went home, I was crying all the way home. And then when I arrived home, the picture of the conversation with my aunt came back on the screen of my mind. And I said, that is my dream. I want to be a brain doctor no matter what. I was completely deterred from my dream. But I came back to that dream, and not only I was successful in business, I went to medical school despite all the challenges, and I made it happen. And when I came to United States, there were a lot of other challenges because I didn't have any medical diploma, any documents with me. And as I mentioned, I couldn't speak English. I applied for any job because I didn't have support. So I started with a restaurant. I became a cashier in a restaurant. But I never ever gave up my dream. And that is the main point for our audience right now, that never ever give up your dream. If you move toward your dream, if you take action steps toward your dream, the universe will come to help you. It's interesting, in your life, something happened that you think is out of blue, but it's not actually out of blue. It's because of the laws of nature. It's because of the universal laws that when you take action to turn adversities, to take disadvantages of your life, to become advantage, to become someone, to change your life, to turn around your life. It's amazing that many people come actually to your aid and help you, and the
But you
universe
know,
comes.
that the funny thing is exactly that you say, what were you dreaming of or what you became. I just recalled actually what I wanted to become, and that was not what I am now and not what I have been through now. As I was very young, you know, I was one of the youngest, the second youngest child at home, and we are a big family, and we were still having our childhood through the Iran-Iraq war. And my brothers, they were sent to military and always to the war zone. And there was a postman who was always bringing these letters. There was no Facebook, or so, I don't know. We are a bit old. So there was a postman, and every time he was bringing a letter from one of my brothers in the front, my mother used to give him some good money called like مجدانة. Mojdaguni. So
Uh-huh.
this is called like for somebody's bringing good news. And for me, actually, if somebody would have asked me, what do you want to become as I was a child, I wish to be a postman, postwoman, because I thought he's receiving so much money and he can look into all of the letters of the people. And he is always driving around in the city, so he's never sitting somewhere. So funny enough, for me already the interest or the inspiration was that he's never somewhere in an office or not in a post office. He was with his motorbike driving around, running, and then just ringing other people's bell and then delivering them some good news. So for me, that was always great. So that every time my mother was saying thank God and shukr falan, so that my sons are in good hands and they are safe and sound, etc. So for me, that was my dream job. But it was for me, let's say in secret, because you know, in our country where we are coming from, everybody should be a doctor, engineer, or lawyers. So I
That's
became the
right.
lawyer, you became the doctor, and my brother became engineer. And I don't know what happened of all of your family members, but I think none of those, they were our real dreams and our real challenges. You know, for me, actually, the very first breakthrough in life happened as I was super, super young, with 21 or probably 20. I got a very horrifying diagnostic from my doctor that I had a tumor in my left breast, and it's made actually a very horrible situation also at home and also for myself, because until the time that tests were done and everything was, you know, under research, etc., there was this horrible situation always for myself and at home. But now when I think back, for me, those days, it was less terrible. I don't know. I did not probably realize the depth of the catastrophe or what could happen. So now when I think back, I think what a brave, funny girl I was. I was still somehow, I remember just when my second oldest sister asked me the night before we went to bed, she said, what would you do if the diagnostic is negative? So I mean negative in sense that you are positive for cancer. The only answer that I gave her, I said, I would enjoy life or I would party as much as possible until the time is over. So now when I think back, probably in this age, I would have cried or I would have started moaning and complaining, etc. But there are sometimes ages or there are sometimes certain periods of life that make you remember, get back to that stage of life or get connected, reconnected with that child or with that younger version of you. We're not taking things so seriously, or we're not crying and complaining about everything so desperately, but tried to make the best out of it. So I think for me, the first breakthrough was that one. There was a second breakthrough that I was driving very late at night, and then I had a very, very heavy car accident, and I just didn't realize what happened with my car or where I was or what happened. I just realized that people who were eating in a restaurant in a neighborhood, they just came out and started like, how to say, throwing coins at the car. So thinking that the driver is dead. And for me, I just crawled out of the car and I just did like this to myself. All the, you know, little glasses, etc., they just fell out of me, and the car was just like this and on the roof, you know. And then I just came out of the car, and then I thought something is in my mouth, and I just spit out, and so much like glasses, they just came into my hand, and then I just coughed twice, and actually I took a cab and I went back home to tell them what happened. So that time I thought, as I came out of the car without without nothing on me, nothing, no injury, and the car was demolished and people were throwing coin. At that second I thought, Awin, you have a mission. There is something you have to fulfill. I didn't know yet what. I'm getting clear, and I think I'm already almost there. But at that time, I just thought there is something you have to accomplish. There is a message you have to spread out in the world. There's a story you have to create and spread. And there is an experience you have to share afterwards with people. So there were like two things actually, like in very very young ages, and where they just did not let me fall or start there crying and complaining about God and the world, or even some people who are complaining about their parents, why they brought them to the world. So sorry, they had a careless night, it happened, and we are here, so we have to manage it. So there is no way back to the past or out here. We have a certain deposit of time and energy and aspiration here. So we ought to make the best out of it. I mean, if we take things too seriously, I know this from my father, that he told me, even in the most serious circumstances of life, don't forget your humor. That will break every ice.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned something very interesting from childhood. When I do coaching, I coach leaders to be a great leader and to be the best version of themselves. And when I teach them actually about reprogramming the mind and restructuring the brain, it's exactly what I ask them, to go back to the childhood attitude. Childhood attitude is very, very interesting, and it's not considered actually in many of the life coaching or personal development or personal growth by many teachers. But interestingly, it's very strong when you go back to childhood attitude. And that's what I asked them, because that's what it happened to me. I went back to that strong childhood attitude and said, okay, this is what it is. It doesn't matter what happened to me. It doesn't matter what's the adversity I'm dealing with, I'm facing with. I'm going to make it happen. And I did. And that's how there is some expressions actually about child, that a child can bring down a crown of a king, because when he or she says I want it, it means I want it.
And when you fall on the floor, then it's over. If I'm allowed to explain a very funny joke about my younger brother, that he's also with us here. He was a smart child in this aspect, you know, because children are actually known to be the most powerful of the humankind, because they get what they want, as you said. If they are hungry, if they want milk, they cry so much that it should happen. So my brother, he used to shed a few tears anytime he wanted something. So that was his fantastic strategy, and he could get everything he wanted just by a bit of crying. And then once he told me, you know what, I cried, they bought me a bicycle. I cried, they bought me this and that toy. I cried, they bought me a new desk. I cried, they bought me a new pants. Why don't you cry sometimes? So, I mean, for me, okay, a different personality, but that was, I think, a fantastic experience that I see. And I see now he's actually asking a question. Just out of curiosity, how would you differentiate psychoanalysis with your approach to restructuring brain?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking that. Psychoanalysis is basically it's analysis of your past psychology. It doesn't tell you what to do. It goes back to your deep memory, your old memory, and bring it back. And at the most, the psychoanalyst will tell you what happened at that time, and probably they can tell you the reason why you have changed. Mm-hmm. But restructuring the brain is completely different. I use psychoanalysis. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, by the way. However, we talk about how to reprogram the mind and restructure the brain. We use the neuroplasticity. This neuroplasticity is not only at the neuron levels, it's actually at the energy levels. And this is what mind about. Mind is brain in action, the brain at energy level. And I have actually psychiatrists and psychologists as my coaching clients. And when I talk about psychoanalysis and talk about how to reprogram the mind, and when I teach them what is mind, where is mind, and how does the mind work, then they say, wow, this is totally different from what we have learned in school. And this is the truth. So just in a nutshell, there's a lot of things actually to reprogram the mind and restructure the brain, but it is scientifically proven. We can talk more about that in later sessions, but just in a nutshell, hopefully you got your answer. If not, please go ahead and ask more.
Great. I think there's also the possibility that they can come or get connected with you or with me, whatever specific questions offline, you know, that he can reach out to you also. One thing that I actually also wanted to mention is there are emotional stages, there are financial stages, and there are physical stages of adversity. I think, Dylaan, you also agree with me. Probably there are also more, but I think the three most, let's say, major aspects are these three, so that we feel like we are in an unfavorable, unpleasant, and so-called unfair, because normal people say, when this happens to me, this is not fair. Why this is happening to me? But why are we saying this, not knowing if somebody else somewhere else is also at the very moment holding his knees and crying, or just crying over his pillows overnight. This we never know. So therefore I learned throughout my own experiences, and particularly the adversities, that it is not a good strategy never to keep them for ourselves, because there might be somebody else with this very same particular problem, or in the same circumstances, that may need our help, or may learn something from us, or vice versa, or we could open up to learn something from him or from her. So to me, what super important that I learned, actually, let's say by experiences, by very sad, so-called unfair experiences, that I don't call it. I have to smile now when I use that word, because I hear it quite often. But as I really grew through all those experiences, I realized that's not the right term, because what we go through, what we have been through, was a part of our adventure, was a part of our actions and reactions, and the decisions and the informations that we were receiving, or the intentions that we were somehow fed by our gut feeling. So actually that's rather your major, so to speak about probably the gut brain and the logic brain, but I just go through it very shortly, so that once we start making a decision, it is based on the information that we have. So if we were receiving wrong information, or let's say fake news from somewhere, so that's, we cannot blame ourselves for taking the wrong decision, because going back to that very moment, we realize if we go back to that very second, we would exactly act the same. Not now, afterwards everybody's wiser and smarter and, you know, more mature, but going back to that very stage, everything would look the same. So that's what I also learned, to make peace with the past, and not blaming others, and most importantly not blaming ourselves when we consider a decision wrong at this very stage of life. Because now probably I would judge myself for taking a wrong step, or making a wrong decision, let's say when I was 20 or when I was 25. But transforming or putting myself back in the shoes of that 22-year-old Awin, I would have exactly done the same. Probably now again, but that's not something that I would, let's say, try to justify myself or something. But I think also that's your expertise. The brain is working like that. So you cannot expect that person would act the same, exactly like the one who is sitting here now after, let's say, almost over 2 decades of academic and researches and professional career, etc., and having been through so many countries and places. But now it's totally different. I see another question is coming. Maybe it's you. What about new things or new problem that we face and we don't have enough information about? Find the information. So that's actually what is encouraging us to learn, to provide and apply more information around that topic. But of course, the expert answer I can expect from Dylaan, please.
Sure. Shapul, thank you so much for asking that question. The way we react or respond to any situation is because of our paradigm. Our paradigm, which is the multitude of habits, have been programmed in our subconscious mind from childhood. So when we are a child, our cortex, our logical brain, especially the prefrontal cortex that makes the judgments and decision and those kind of things, is not developed. So whatever our parents or siblings or older people or media, news, TV, class, school tell us, basically we accept it. And that's how we form our beliefs. That's how we learn everything. And then these will be a default programming in our subconscious mind. And whatever decision, whatever reaction or response we do to any situation, any circumstance that happens in our life is based on that programming. And you mentioned not to blame yourself. That's very good thing that you pointed out. Blaming is a loser game. So we can find a lot of excuses for our failures. We can blame ourselves, we can blame our parents, we can blame our past, our teachers, schools, and everyone else around us. But the winner game is changing that. Stop blaming, take 100% responsibility for whatever happened. It doesn't mean you were in fault, but take responsibility for whatever happened and for your decision that you have made. Because whatever results you get or you have received because of that action you have taken before is because of that. Because you decided to choose that kind of response. And that is because of the old paradigm in our mind. Mind, by the way, has two parts, just like brain, conscious and subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, when I give talk about mind, I compare it with an iceberg. An iceberg in the ocean, you see about 10% the tip of the iceberg. You don't see about 90% of the iceberg, which has the power. And that is your subconscious mind. We choose something, we decide consciously to do something, but we don't do it. And this is, by the way, one of the topics that I speak on, why we do what we do and why we don't do what we're supposed to do. This is back to this programming in our subconscious mind, and it's completely reprogrammable. It's just like a computer. It's not probably very good comparison because our brain is a super biocomputer. It's a biocomputer. It's dynamic. It's live. It is not like a real computer, like physical computer. But we can actually compare it. That our brain is the hardware of that computer, and our mind is the software. And that software is the programs that if your computer comes with a default program from the factory, you get those programs. But if you don't like those programs, if you don't like the results that you have gotten because of your action from before, now is the time. It's time to change that program, to reprogram your mind. When you reprogram your mind, your nervous system actually starting to change the neuronal pathways, and it's scientifically proven. That's how you restructure your brain, or you rewire your brain.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for this really deep dive and explanation that I hope everybody could get some useful information and knowledge out of it. What I wanted to point out also, I mean, back to actually our life experiences and our stories, which I think that would also most interest our friends and audiences, is that what we get for statements or circumstances, then we are responsible based on that information, which is that circumstances, to take the decision that we consider right. Because for you, for example, regarding medical studies, and then afterwards your shift towards entrepreneurship and leadership, these are also two great breakthroughs. And also for myself, I mean, from the world of sports, real estate, mathematics, banking, finance, legal, and then coming to also entrepreneurship, and also in a way leadership, and following somehow super similar missions to help others also to find this path, or just to step into this path. I think here we are cutting edge or overlapping or sharing similar grounds that I would love to also share with our friends, because I think many people have been also asking in the recent past, where are you? Why don't you have time to go out anymore? What are you doing? We don't see you here and there anymore. But normally I'm also like this lioness. When I have my stuff and my projects, I rather go back to my hole and lure somewhere there for the right for the right moment, and I equip myself with the right knowledge or the right capabilities and the potentials, etc., and then coming out. So just to go to the battle and get things started. So what I would like to also know from you, just probably to bring the discussion to an end, actually I would like to know a little more also from our friends, to if
we have some doctors, some nurses, some
yes,
entrepreneurs, leaders,
some lawyers,
all around the world. So go
some
ahead,
business
ask your
people, yeah.
question, and if you have any comment, anything to add what we have discussed so far, please go ahead and share with us.
Yes, please. Otherwise, lawyer and woman can talk actually 2 days if you don't stop her. So probably I just came into the right business. But until our friends actually submit some ideas or share some stories or some questions, I actually would like also to share with you and with everybody also the power of asking for help and for support. Because I was known to be a superhero, to be a super strong, superpower, fire. My zodiac sign is dragon, fire dragon. So I was always expected from my, let's say, from people from outside, and also internally, I was having this high expectation from myself to handle everything by my own until the very end, which I did also all the time. I was falling from time to time, but I was getting up again, and I was like licking my wounds and taking care of the bruises and looking at my scars and continuing the way. But I came to a time or a stage in my life where I grew up mentally and internally in a way. Let's say, I don't want to say grew up, but I became mature, so to open up and not shutting up for help and support of others. Because mostly people who are known as strong people, they are expected to handle everything by their own. They are not allowed to cry. They are not allowed to let's say complain or share whatever pain or adversity that they are in with other people. I learned that and welcomed that, and that made me feeling much lighter and much more peaceful as I started to reach out to people. And this is what I would love to give also to our friends and to our audiences, so that you would not look weak or powerless if you accept, or let's say reach out or accept support and help from others, either it is emotionally or professionally, whatsoever. I mean, professionally, I started to learn about the power of mentorship just last year, and it was the time that I just broke out of corporate job with a kind of burnout and super unhappy actually, but I knew there's something that I'm running after, and I started that also by my own, without saving, without support. But I had a calling who told me, you are going the right path, just follow your intuition and it will work, of course with hard work, etc. But then I started to ask for help, and that changed actually my life, I mean, drastically. So now, after less than 1.5 years, I have built up already my second business. So this is what I actually would like also to share with others. And I left somehow the past careers behind in a way that I just integrated them into my fundament and foundation, and in a way the additional power to move forward, and not something like, oh, why did I waste my time on this and that? Actually, I was good for this and that. But no, those were the things that also, as you said, shaped my brain and my way of thinking. I mean, I still am in love with analytical geometry and algebra, etc. I'm still in love with it. This is the only thing actually that looks for me still like the game when we were learning mathematics and game. And I am also super happy that I went through law, and I went through such a great adventure in a different language in a different country, and getting to know so many different people, etc. But then the shift came that I decided to do something on my own, to build up something on my own, to identify and craft my own passions and potentials, because then I started to truly appreciate the time. And as I said, the deposit that I have left over for, let's say, the second half of my life, that I would love it to be the harvesting time with what I love to do, and what also it gives me the emotional and financial abundance. So as I know that you also have been through this shift, I would love to hear also this from you, the shift from medical world and brain surgeon. Actually, you were a super one, a very good one. And then out to entrepreneurship.
Yes, that's true. When I was in medical school, and especially in neuroscience, as you know, neurosurgeons, rocket scientists, lawyers, engineers, many of them are stubborn, and I was one of them. I was very stubborn, and when I wanted to go to study mind, and I studied several books about mind, but I was not satisfied, and I wanted to have someone actually coaching me, mentoring me, to tell me what is mind, because I understood. There's a story behind that. One of my patients actually asked me the difference between mind and brain. And at that time, I thought I knew everything because, well, a left brain person, and being in neuroscience, naturally it happens. And when I looked back, at that time, I wanted to have Bob Proctor as my coach. And as you know, he's very expensive. Actually, at that time,
he's the mentor of my mentor.
Yeah, not that expensive like now. But when The Secret, the movie, came out, he became very famous, like worldwide, and he became very expensive. But the point, it's not about the money and stuff. The point is about hiring someone, having someone on your side as a mentor or as a coach. And at that time, I was thinking, well, I was a medical doctor, and he never graduated high school. How I could have him as my coach?
Cliche,
and then I looked back at my life, and I said, well, when I wanted to become a speaker, I was very shy. As I mentioned, I couldn't talk to people, and I became a speaker and a professional speaker. And I went back to my life, and I found out actually I had a mentor in my high school who helped me to become a speaker. I had a mentor to help me to become a leader. And that's why I became the student body president in high school, and became the president of students in entire medical school, and later on in any workplace that I went. Then I said, do you know what? It's all about coaching and mentoring. I'm gonna talk to Bob. And I did. And he was very expensive.
And I'm gonna afford him.
And I said, I cannot afford you. And he said, do you know what? You cannot afford not having this coaching program. That's what you cannot afford, because it will change your life forever. And as we mentioned through this discussion, I had some breakthrough and turnaround point. That one of them actually was when I invented with my attending professor in neurosurgery. We invented a new technique in neurosurgery and saved a life of a 11-month-old baby who was basically came to die, because every other doctor said it's not possible to fix that problem. And then I came up with an idea, and we talked with my professor, and we did that technique, and we published a paper in 2007 on that technique. Nowadays, it's worldwide, and we did 26 surgery on 24 patients with different diagnoses with that technique. That was one of the turning points for me, that I said, if I was able to change the skull and give room to brain to grow, despite all the odds and every other people they said it's not possible, then how about if I help people to change their mind and grow their mind?
And
then
ultimately change their lives.
Exactly. And then when I went to my fellowship at University of Chicago, I was dealing with many patients in coma. And I realized that my patients, they were in coma because of brain injury. But there were some family members and friends, they were in life coma because of the mind injury, because of that old paradigm, that old default programming in our mind. And that was another turning point to make my decision to help people to change their life, to design their life the way they want. But it took me a while, and then I became a medical director and ICU director for a healthcare providing company. And I helped them to grow in business exponentially. And then I realized that I changed the culture of everyone in that company. And it came from one of the doctors who was working for me. I had 22 doctors working for me in that company. And one day after morning round, he said, "Coach, I need your help." And I said, "Wow, that's very interesting."
How did you just call me? How did you just call me?
Yeah, why did you call me coach? And he said, since you are working here, you have changed the life of every single person in this company, the owner, the CEO, the manager, us, doctors, the nurses, nurse aides, everyone. And today I don't have a medical question. I have problem with my life, and I want you to coach me. And I did. And that point, it was another turning point, and I said, okay, from now on, I should think seriously about doing coaching officially. And as I said, I was in leadership, so I combined the science of neuroscience, the science of mind that I learned from books and from my coaches and mentors. I have had many coaches, many mentors, and still I have had coaches and mentors in businesses, in personal development, in many things. And I believe in coaching. So back to your point, ask for help. And that will change your life. If you do not reprogram your mind, someone else will do it for you. If you do not design your life the way you want, other people will do it.
Someone else will do it. Yeah, that's actually the slogan. Decide, or your life will be decided by others.
Exactly. So asking for help actually is a very good thing.
And it's powerful, you know. It shows actually the power and the strength and the maturity, because it doesn't mean, I mean, in certain cultures, it is somehow considered as being weak, or not having enough knowledge, or not having enough strength. But when you come to that certain level, then you realize if you want to grow, or if you don't want to go the stony, tiny, tiring, long, annoying way, but you want to reach the way of those who have been there before and who are now there where you want to be, pay them and go there through the shortcut. Why not? Exactly. I mean, I think, sorry, we have one life to live. Either today or tomorrow we realize it. It's never too late. It's always good to make a wise decision. Also, stupid decisions are respectable, actually, because we learn from them. I mean, my mentor, your student of your mentor, because he's much younger, the amazing Kane Menkes, always say, there are no failures, there are only feedbacks. So once we think we failed somewhere or we fall in some circumstances, we have the chance, we have the choice to stand in the valley of circumstances, or to stand up, go up the hill and look at the situation, collect the information and make the wisest decision that we can due to that circumstance, because we can never actually justify our decisions, as we said, 10 years or 20 years later. So I think as we came to this point, we could wrap up, because I did not expect it to go so long. We have actually wonderful comments and questions also from some of our friends. Siamand, I have already actually the answer to your question. If you want me, we can discuss it offline, but I believe, and of course, Dylaan can correct me, that cultural values and taboos, of course, they build up a certain pattern in our mind, and it takes a huge effort to remove them, or to, let's say, repattern, or to, let's say, install or decode, hack the system and build up a new pattern, because we are like containers. We have been like containers already as a child, filled up by informations and the data coming from the news, from our parents, from our siblings, from the society, from the teachers. So we are now just filled with those informations and data, and we even didn't have the chance to data process them. So we just functioned based on the things that were told to us. In the school, it was like the school was started 8 a.m. Everybody line up, go. 9 a.m. go. You're allowed to drink some water now. So 12, now everybody can go home. Afterwards, homework time. 8 p.m. sleeping time. So we were like soldiers. We lived like soldiers, actually, and it has nothing to do, I think, with geographical or cultural situations, but it has been everywhere like this. That's why I decided that I will never send my children to school. I will let them learn from the world, from the nature, and of course nurturing them with wisdom of private teachers, etc., etc., but never following a system. I mean, this is what I love about that Another Break in the Wall of Pink Floyd. I mean, they already knew what is wrong with the education system. So regarding the cultural taboos, etc., as I mentioned, and probably Dylaan, you can confirm or probably challenge it, that these are the patterns that we have already installed here, but it is not impossible to remove them and to reprogram them. So
that's true. That's true. That's why we do whatever we do. It's because of that pattern. Because we are habitual creatures, and we act upon our emotion. Our emotion comes from the habits, from the default programming in our subconscious mind, and that's why we go back to the same results. If you pay attention to the New Year resolution list, it works only for few hours, few days, at the most few weeks. And the studies actually have been done here at the University of Sacramento, that 92% of people, even they have this strong New Year resolution list and wish, after a few weeks, they go back to the same pattern, to the same results, because of that habit. But it's breakable. You can break that pattern. That's what I do with my coaching clients and people whom I work with. I break that pattern, and sometimes, as Siaman mentioned, it's not easy. And you mentioned it's not easy. It's difficult.
I have been through one or two processes.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
I could not sleep.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we give up. If you have a goal and you don't give up and you take action upon your decision, you will make it. It's simple, pretty simple, like very basic, but it's not easy.
You don't have to go through all experiments and all the failures. I mean unnecessary failures, unnecessary experiences. If somebody shows us the way, or just carry us on the wing, and we are still observing the way and the path, but we don't have to experience it all by our own. So what
Exactly.
privilege could be better than that? So if we can also offer that to our surrounding, and we can solve problems of people by our experience and our story. So I think if I can put an impact on 2 people's life each month, I am the happiest in this universe. That would be the minimum, but I would be super happy. So I think each one of us, 2 people, 1 week, 1 month, and there the change starts. There's a very funny bus in front of my street, parked since a week or something, and it's written, I will share the picture afterwards in the comments, instead of, because everybody's saying change the world, but there is written change your world.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I really noticed, and I thought the person who owns this car must be a wise man or woman. First, change your own world, and then spread it out, and then you will change the world. So this is, I think, also our very mission.
That's true.
From within, and then
change starts within. Change starts something from inside you. And then when you change yourself, when you change your mind, when you change your habits for success, and when you become a successful person, you become a different person, then you can change the world of those around you, and you can spread the word and change part of the world. I don't say you can change the whole world. You might, but at least you can change the life of those people around you and help others to have a fulfilled life, to have a successful life. Life is all about the experiences. You talked about failure. I have black belt in failure in every aspect of life you can imagine.
Thank you. I'm with you. I mean, not in every aspect, but in a few.
Yeah, but I have a lot of successes in all aspects of life also. So yes, Elham, that's because of the experiences that I have been through. And what I do for my mentees, for my coaching clients, coaching students, is help them to go through to breaking that pattern, to reprogram the mind, to go through this fulfilled life and successful life simply and easily, much easier than what I have been through. Yes, I've been through many challenges in my life, and I have studied many years. I have over 27 years of education and training, but I don't recommend that. That's why I coach many people, especially those people who want to change their life. And I have doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and leaders of companies or entrepreneurs of their own businesses. They come to me to get help. What I teach my coaching clients or my mentees or my coaching students is to break that old pattern, to believe in yourself, because the power is within you. And everyone without exception has that power. And everyone without exception gets a lot of challenges, a lot of lessons, a lot of failures. But if you look at the failures as lessons, and if you have a mentor or a coach by your side, and have a support system to support you in weak moments, then you can break through. And everybody has done it. Everybody, without exception, everyone in the world has been through many successes in life. When some people, they talk about failure, and they or some like close friends or family, when I started some like different paths of my life and some businesses, they warned me, you may fail. And as my coach Bob Proctor said, what do you mean by you might fail? We have been failing many times. And if you go back to your childhood, how did you learn to walk? Do you know how many times a child fall and fail? Tens of thousands of times. But if you go back to your childhood and adopt that attitude of childhood, you take a look at the failure as a lesson. When you fell down, you clapped even for yourself. You smiled, you got up and moved forward. Even you knew you're going to fall again. And as Winston Churchill said, success is going failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And that's how it works. And that's how you can change the old paradigm, old pattern in your subconscious mind and change it for success. Any of you, you can text both of us on Messenger.
We can
give us your email, and we can send you a few slides of the takeaway messages of this session, and whatever question you have, or if you want to talk to us privately on a phone or online or whatever the case might be, you can just message us and send us your email and maybe phone number so we can contact you and give you the information.
Okay, what I actually wanted to also probably inform everybody that, as you know, Dylaan is already offering programs and also myself. So any further questions or anything, they can be also discussed, of course, offline further, because this is now Sunday evening. So I don't, although some people probably are just leaving or something for dinner or maybe at your place for lunch, but we have to now wrap this up. I would like to just mention a few takeaways from my side, or let's say 6 little bullet points just to take away on this, and let's say how to act under such circumstances when we feel like we failed. Because I am sure, Dylaan, also from your side, we still have thousands of other experiences and stories that we could tell them. But I mean, I just mentioned one very last story, that's how you can use them as advantage. As I was about to break out of corporate job, I once had a meeting with our line manager, and then she asked me, why did I handle this and that email of the other line manager this way and not that way? And then I just looked into the emails that I actually looked at and the assessments that I did. And then I just told her, I printed out and I told her, look here, I referred her to an email that I already answered that question. So that case was closed. And then she told me, oh, I see you have a problem with authority. Why are you arguing when your authority is telling you to follow up with something? You should not show her that you did already followed up. You should just do what she says. And then I said, excuse me, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, authority, first of all, we're in Switzerland. I mean, come on, there is no authority here first. I mean, this is not a kind of dynasty country or something. But then I said, but excuse me, here I already finished this case is closed. But she said, you know, I think by nature you have a problem with authority, so the best option for you would be to become an entrepreneur. At that day I went back home and cried. I said, what? She's telling me that I'm not good enough or whatever. And the day after, it was a Friday the 13th, I wrote my resignation and I put that on her table, and I hugged her afterwards and I said, that sentence changed my life. You knew where I belong to. Adios, for good. And so that was something that I thought, it's a failure, probably I did something wrong, and I cried the whole night. And then the day after I thought, no, you can look at it in a different way. And that was actually an enlightenment for me. And I'm here now, and anytime I may see that lady in the street, I may hug her and invite her for coffee. So thank you very much. So
forgiveness.
You see, yeah. I mean, this is something that she did for me. Without that message, I wouldn't have been here now.
And that was because of the level of awareness. You were aware of your situation and what you wanted to become to, and that triggered that situation, that awareness, and boom, you decided to have your own business, to get out of the corporate world.
And I'm so happy. I failed. I failed a few times.
Yes.
real on my nose, and I lost money and etc. But I don't regret that decision 1 second. And even people in the office, I mean, in the bank, they were just telling me, Awin, it's a Friday, it's the 13th. What are you doing? I said, Friday the 13th, and the black cat couldn't be better. I have a black cat. Oh, Friday the 13th, I'm going for it. What I wanted just to give some takeaways and just some announcement for our friends, that what I would love you to take away with you is just don't take the fear so seriously, because we have the fear of loss, we have the fear of process, and we have the fear of unknown whenever we see ourselves trapped in a kind of adversity or a kind of unfavorable situation. Just go through that process. A second point that I would love to mention also here is just trust and honor the process, because the process is what will make the outcome, good or bad. And just carry your scars like a hero, and they will remind you of that incident, and that's good. Sometimes things should not be forgotten. It might be sometimes blurred or a bit unimportant, but don't forget them, because they will remind you of those kind of circumstances. And what I also would love you to know is just to have those kind of experiences is a kind of privilege, because who in this world want to have a boring, comfortable life without any risks or something? Also, those who want to, I think they don't belong to our audiences. I don't know. Maybe there are a few. And experience and take those experiences and even those pains and those suffering with yourself, and couple them with the with all the resources and all the informations that we have, and all the tools and techniques that we have available in the world now. There has never been a better time to start something new, to go, let's say, live. Just look at us. We are reaching out to you from 2 different corners of the world. And one other thing is, just if you get something started, if you have a new idea, if you are somehow driven by a kind of passion or potential, don't just be interested or into it. Be committed, and be a kind of WIT person. That's my favorite abbreviation. It's a kind of whatever it takes person. Don't just, I'm into it. Be a whatever it takes person with commitment, and honor the whole process and the steps. So this is what I wanted to give you as takeaway from my side. And as a kind of gesture of appreciation for those who spent their precious time on a Sunday noon or evening with us, from my side, I would like to give away 5 free calls for assessments towards clarity, or building up new business, or challenging new adventures, or ideas for life. The first 5 person that reach out to me then via PM, I would be more than glad to offer them this consultation and go a little bit deeper in the ideas of how to manage a shift towards your own business, and get out of corporate job or whatsoever job which is no more fulfilling and rewarding to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I offer the same thing. As you know, I have established coaching program and different levels to give back to our community, to our audiences, our Facebook friends that are watching us and gave us their precious time. I offer the same thing. The first 5 people who message me, I can spend 1 hour free of charge coaching program, so we can go through different aspects of life. And
so I think the Sunday was worth it, huh?
Do the assessment. Yeah.
No, I would love to, because I see if somebody is now giving us also this trust and this credit, so of course there should be also something in return, and this is what we love. It is not that we just want to spend our time also now on a Sunday just for fun with you. We want to give away something, we want to add value, and you also add value to us by your presence or by your commitment, especially those few that I see they are constantly with us. Of course, we cannot expect this from everybody. The video will be available also later, but for those of you who were with us live or who will watch the video later, both of you will offer 5 free seats for consultation calls due to the specific topics that you would like to be handled. Of course, with Dylaan would be rather in leadership and mind and awareness, etc. So if you can also add up to it, and from my side would be also if you are struggling and stuck in a kind of circumstance that you want to get out of, and you want to build up your own, not business, I call it imperium.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time, your precious time spending with us, sending positive energy, love and peace.
Thank you. Bye bye.